I didn't give you a chance to answer.
You said, "Are you ready, bowl boy?" And then just click before you even finished your sentence. You just clicked over.
uh,
I I didn't even have a chance to put it down. What?
well,
What?
you got like 5 minutes to eat while we wait for people to get
What the
here.
fuck is wrong with you?
It's been a minute, and I feel like
There's
I'm.
nothing more professional than eating on stream, especially something wet like chicken salad. What the hell?
Oh God! Hi, everybody.
You put all this white stained fruit in my mouth.
We are
On
doing
camera.
great.
What the fuck? Why are you like this?
I.
Who hurt you?
That's a list.
Based on your face, it looks like the pillow you were napping on. As it's carved, it's engraving in the side of your head.
Watch. Oh, this. It was probably this.
Ow. That looks like it's uncomfortable.
Okay.
You alright?
Uh, yeah, I'm good. I don't think we need to worry about our professionalism, is what Chad is telling me.
How you doing? You doing good?
I'm doing all right. We've been trying to record for a week and we just haven't got around to it. We set baby's bedtime at 10 o'clock, so streams will have to be at 7 or 7:30. We're gonna try 7:30 today, and then we'll see how it goes. But yeah, we're semi back just in time for like everything in the world to start releasing. So, and James is eating chicken salad out of a bowl.
It's a really big bowl. I hear a youth in the other room.
Yes, the child is stirring. Um, yeah. How are you? How are you doing, Jay? How are you doing, Bull Boy?
I'm present.
How's new dad life treating you with our 3 minutes left that we have for witty banter?
Not too shabby.
Nah, he's great. Boy is great. Child good.
The baby sleeps a great deal.
Yeah. He actually, and his sleep schedule's getting better too. I feel like the first few nights were obviously rough, but now that we've kind of got him in a routine, I get more sleep at night. James would if he made
Some
good life
nights,
choices.
some nights I get lots of sleep. Some nights I don't get any sleep. It just depends.
Those nights of no sleep, are those because of the baby or because you decide to stay up playing video games?
I only stayed up playing video games once, and it was 1 hour. But no, the nights when I don't get any sleep are the nights when the baby is awake through my fucking blocks.
Oh yeah, we do shift sleeps now. So I would like you to eat more dinner tonight.
I'll think about it.
We take 3 hour shifts sleeping and then 3 hour shifts being on duty. So we swap back and forth. The on duty person is allowed to doze, but they are on call for baby. So yeah, that seems to be going pretty well. Sometimes James is right. Sometimes you're lucky and we get lots of sleep, and other times we hit a wake window. But James's sister is here, so we have someone watching the baby for our first night of recording back. And then hopefully James keeps putting it off. This is Umbrella Academy, in case you didn't read the title. James keeps putting off watching Black Swan for as long as he possibly can.
I don't want to watch that fucking movie.
So we'll be doing that maybe sometime this week. I wanted to do it tomorrow, but James wants to go on a date or something. So
Well, fuck me for like wanting to maintain a happy wife, happy life relationship. Fuck my ass, right? Kind of, it's not about the movie itself. It's just we only have my sister here for so many days, and then the next time we have people here, it's like we're not going to be able to do streams or anything.
Yeah.
So there's there's a limited window of things we can do. So you get, and I didn't want to watch Black Swan today. That was personal. So you're getting Umbrella Academy today, which is as good, if not better.
It's actually oh, our sign is down. Yeah, it's actually oh, none of the back things are lit up. I saw this light and I didn't check back there. I'll do that.
Do that real quick.
This isn't plugged in. Is Jack plugged in? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of the score of things. It also is important to hit Umbrella Academy because it just came out. So like relevancy and stuff. There's already a billion videos about it online, but here's our 2 cents. You ready? Would you like a muted coaster?
Yeah, that'd be good. It's a glass bottle.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
How many apocalypses do you think you could make it through before you killed your siblings?
I would just say before I go insane, but that's just 5 in general. So, probably like 2. I feel like if I'd made it through 2 and a third one happened, I'd go full 5. I'd just go. I'm retired. I'm not fucking dealing with it. It's over. The end. So 2 at least.
Well, that's an apt number because you know what? There should only been 3 seasons.
Yep. There should only have been 3. I'm America. That's James.
Uh-huh.
This is CityWavesCinema.
Uh-huh.
Your uploads have probably been all over the place. We apologize.
You mean just not there? All over the place would imply that they were somewhere.
Yeah.
No, listen, we had a baby, okay? There's a valid excuse for suddenly falling off the face of the earth.
There is. James is gonna hopefully put some out sometime soon.
I'm gonna put out an episode the very evening of recording.
So yeah, as of recording, Umbrella Academy came out 2 weeks ago, which is the same age as our newborn, so that's kind of where we've been. But yeah, it's in our chat someone put that it's a Game of Thrones mistake, and honestly it feels Game of Thronesy in the way it ends. But we're going to talk about not just the way Umbrella Academy ended, we're going to talk about all of Umbrella Academy, the good, the bad, the ugly, our favorites, their people's favorite.
What?
I said our favorite stuff, the people's favorite stuff. Where did you go?
I was listening to you speak and you said our favorite. You just sort of like, it sounded like a monster clawed out your throat.
I make baby T-Rex noises now too.
All right. Look. Umbrella Academy is a comic book series put out by Dark Horse Comics, written by Gerard Way and illustrated by, scroll back up, Gabriel Ba.
Honestly, comics are really good.
They both also serve as executive producers on the show.
Yeah, and Gerard Way did a lot of the writing, did he not? For at least the first 3 seasons.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he probably consulted.
I mean, he was there a lot.
He didn't write that episode, or that episode, or that episode, or that episode, or that one, or that one, or that one, or that one. Or
Okay.
All
He
10
worked
episodes.
He worked on the show, but he didn't write it.
He was probably just there. You know?
Got it.
All right.
Comics are good. If you are an emo at heart, no matter your age, Umbrella Academy is a good place to be. Especially that first season. The first season's my favorite season. It was the best season in my opinion.
Pretty good.
It also stayed the truest to source material that it could. But Umbrella Academy is about 7 siblings who were all birthed on the same day their moms got pregnant on October 14th. It's October 14th.
Talking about some sort of immaculate conception type shit. On that day, they didn't wake up pregnant.
Yeah. It was in 1989, 43 women simultaneously gave birth, despite showing no signs of pregnancy. 7 of those children were found and adopted, paid for, bought by Reginald Hargreaves. Sorry, sir. He's knighted, apparently.
Sure.
I mean, he's lived on the earth forever, so
makes sense.
He could have been knighted at some point. But yeah, he adopts these 7 children and basically raises them to be superheroes. And it's kind of about their life post being superhero children. They're the 7 children. He doesn't give them names, but their robot mother, stay with us. It's a wild time. Their robot mother does give them names. So number 1 is named Luther. He is
a big, strong boy.
He's big and strong, and he also had an accident that made him look mostly like an ape. Except for his head.
Yeah,
Stay with us. Number 2, which is Diego, and has the power to control projectiles, I guess is how you would say it. Like things that he can throw, which he mainly chooses knives. Then you have number 3, who is Allison, aka the worst character ever. I hate her. She has the power to manipulate people into doing whatever she wants. Then you have number 4, who is Klaus, and he has the power to commune with the dead and channel the dead.
And also a little bit of immortality.
Yeah, which we don't find out till later.
Is that a season 2 thing?
Season 3.
Oh my god.
Then you have number 5, who does not ever get another name. Because
5's just 5.
He disappeared before they got names. That's it.
Yup.
Number 6, who is Ben, who has the power in the show. It really is only like this tentacle thing that he does, that comes either out the front or later on the back of him. But in the comic books, he has the ability to summon monsters from another like plane of existence and use their powers.
He functions as a portal to a monster dimension and basically just utilizes other monsters'
abilities.
Yeah.
But you don't really get to see that very much. And then you have Vanya/Victor, who we'll be referring to as Victor for the rest of the time, but they do in the show start off as Vanya, so if you're confused, that's why. Vanya/Victor, who has no powers
to speak
of that we know of. And yeah, that's the family. And the whole show kind of kicks off because their dad dies. So
Episode 1, called We Only See Each Other at Weddings and Funerals. They all sort of reluctantly gather for the funeral/eulogy of their not dearly departed father.
Yeah.
And the first episode is really just a lot of sort of getting the gang together, learning who everyone is and what their relationships are with each other.
Everybody hates Victor because Victor wrote a tell-all book.
Yeah.
About their childhood. And it was not
pleasant.
And it was well received by the public for like a flash pan moment and then tapered off.
I mean, that's basically any tell-all book.
True.
About a public thing.
True. But yeah, that's kind of the...
so episode 1, everyone's gathered. Now, we should mention, 5 isn't there. 5 is somewhere else, and he appears in the height of a fight where everyone is arguing with each other over quite literally nothing important.
Ben is also not there. because
Oh, well, yeah, Ben's dead.
Ben died to the Jennifer incident.
Which we'll refer back to next episode.
So yeah, everyone's fighting, and then Five does return. So what happened to Five was Five has the ability
to blink.
I never said what Five's powers were. Five does have the ability to blink, which means he can traverse space and also sometimes time. But time is harder, tricky. It does stuff to your brain. Lots of things can happen when you traverse time, and he was warned about that, and he decided to be a petulant preteen and say, "Fuck you, Dad, I can do it all by myself," and transported himself into the future after the world has ended.
Yeah. So he spent approximately
46 years?
Some amount of time.
I think it's 46. I'm pulling that number out of my ass.
In the future, dealing with apocalypses. Episode 1 also treats us to one of the best fight scenes as Five is being tracked by an unnamed group of assailants who show up to try and kill him. This is a child, by the way, at a donut shop, and he smokes everybody and then pulls the tracker out of his arm.
Yeah, when Five comes back from the future, he comes back as the age that he disappeared at, because again, time travel is tricky. So he looks like he's 14 still.
Yeah, I believe it is
14. But yeah, he's a child, and he's as crotchety an old man in a child's body as there ever could be.
Obsessed with drinking black coffee and liquor.
Yep. Yeah. That's kind of the first
episode 1.
Episode 1 also treats us to one of the best scenes in the entire show, in my opinion, which is the dance scene between all the siblings to I Think We're Alone Now by Tiffany.
Yup. Great scene.
It's a good scene. Overall, the whole first episode is really just really good. It really gets you into the show like immediately. And then episode 2 is called Run Boy Run, which is the song that plays when Five disappears. It's a good song. Listen to it. But Five goes and talks to Victor because
this conversation with Five and Victor happens in episode 1. I apologize. It's at the very end of episode 1. Five goes and talks to Victor and tells, well, she's Vanya at the time, tells Vanya that the world ends in 8 days.
8 days.
And they are the reason that it ends.
Yep.
The siblings are. So we pick up with that conversation, with Victor thinking Five's mind is all jacked up because of the time travel and that the world's not actually going to end. And we meet, I believe we meet for the first time, Cha-Cha and Hazel, who are just some of the funniest fucking characters in the show, and we only have them for 9 episodes.
They're agents of the Commission.
Are they? They're of the Commission? Okay.
Yeah, so they're the ones that are sent to track down Five.
They're trying to find and kill / obtain Five.
Because Five is messing with the timeline, and he's just like any other media out there that has multiple timelines. He is messing with the time in a way that he's not supposed to be messing with the time. So the company that he actually works for, which is the Commission, has sent other agents to obtain him and stop him.
He keeps killing them.
Yeah, he does keep killing them. That's who attacked him in the first episode as well. But Cha-Cha and Hazel are actually like assassins instead of just like officers, I guess.
So while this is all going on, Luther is trying to suss out who could be responsible for their father's death, because he's sort of always been sort of a family oriented character. He's probably the most broken up about the whole thing.
He also doesn't believe that he just had a heart attack.
Right. So he rules out his brother Diego as a suspect because he was not there at the time. And so he's doing sort of detective work on the side. Five teams up with Klaus to try and find where this prosthetic eye that he obtained in the future came from. Um,
Because it was like in someone's fist.
yeah, in the future
Yeah.
apocalypse. So they figure out that the eye hasn't been made yet in the present. And so Five decides he's going to go see his girlfriend, Dolores. Dolores is a department store mannequin.
Yeah.
So Five gets hammered and makes out with a mannequin.
It really doesn't like help his whole I haven't lost my mind to time travel case.
Yeah.
But he was alone. This is more credit to what I'll talk about in season 4 too. He was alone for a significant portion of time, and the brain needs to make comfort out of situations. And that was Dolores for 5 in the future.
So to wrap up the episode, one of Diego's old friends on the police force is investigating the many, many deaths at the donut shop. And Allison is watching old surveillance videos of their childhood to make herself feel better because she's a deeply traumatized character. And it is revealed that Five finds all of his siblings dead in the future, and he gets that prosthetic eye from Luther's cold, dead hands.
Yeah.
And that's how episode 2 ends. So we're not getting very far, but we're getting some places.
We're also getting some more backstory into like their childhood, like because Allison watches some surveillance footage of and finds out like disturbing things about their childhood from their dad.
We're really gonna have to crank through the rest of these episodes.
I know. I wasn't gonna go episode by episode. I was just gonna talk about the season as a whole.
Well, I mean, I just don't remember very much of the episode. I didn't watch season 1 like I meant to earlier this week.
So the next episode is called Extraordinary, and the footage that Allison found has Grace,
The robot mom,
serving poison tea to their father. But when they talk to Grace
doesn't know anything about it.
Yeah, she doesn't remember anything. So, I mean, she's a robot. You can program them to not do that. Like to not remember things. Vanya, who is a really good violinist, because that's what she did with all her time when her siblings were fighting crime, because she has no powers. Vanya is practicing her violin and has met this man named Leonard,
who is a student of hers that she's teaching violin.
Leonard and Vanya are kind of starting to get to know each other.
They're gonna be a thing. You can tell.
Yeah, there's all these like meet cute moments between the two. And
Five starts to really get invested in the prosthetic eye.
Cha-Cha and Hazel are trying to track down Five, talking to the donut shop person.
They do eventually, via the umbrella tattoo that is on. Is it on Five?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the umbrella tattoo that Five has.
The only one that didn't get one was Victor, because
yeah, they all got this umbrella tattoo that America also has because she's very cool like that. They all have the tattoo, and it's a well-known tattoo of the Hargreaves gang, as they were. And Hazel and Cha-Cha wind up going to the mansion, and we get a big fuck-off fight scene where the siblings have to fight Hazel and Cha-Cha.
We also missed the fight scene between Five and Hazel and Cha-Cha in the department store, which is another good fight scene. There's really good fight scenes in the show. The choreography and stuff.
Yeah, it's quite good.
Fantastic. The action sequences are great.
Hazel and Cha-Cha don't manage to get much done other than they kidnap Klaus, and that's sort of the end of the third episode. Fourth episode, we get a little bit of backstory on what the fuck happened to Luther. So, Hargreaves, our sort of ne'er-do-well father figure, sent Luther on a mission to the moon that went really fucking wrong. And to save his life, he gave him an injection of a serum that would definitely save him, but it might also turn him into an animal. And it turned him into an ape from the neck down, which is why he's all hairy and large. Uh, Allison and Luther find the deactivated Grace and assume that that Hazel and Cha Cha turned her off, but when actuality it was Diego mid fight scene.
Mm-hmm.
Leonard and Vanya are hitting it off. Hazel and Cha Cha torment Klaus, and in one of the greatest scenes is this torture scene because Klaus is into it
Way into it.
a little too much. I'll be honest, it's a little too much. Yeah, it's. I mean, that's really just sort of like the biggest thing that you're gonna take away from episode 4 is that Klaus is really into it.
And he also escapes with a briefcase. And the briefcase is how the commission time travels. It keeps your brain sane and helps you traverse time. There will be no explanation given about the briefcases ever, so just know that that's kind of what they're for. Briefcases will remain important for at least the next 2 seasons, and no other explanation will be given about how they function.
Also, Klaus does time travel with this briefcase in episode 4 at the very end.
Yes.
He opens it up, vanishes.
Then we find out about how Five got the job that he has,
right,
which is working for the commission. He was in the apocalyptic future,
and a strange lady approached him.
Yeah, her name's the Handler. That's it. And she offers him a job, and he works basically doing what Hazel and Cha Cha are currently doing as an assassin, kind of trying to keep the timeline pure and things occurring the way they're supposed to. And he kind of does that just until he can learn enough about time to get back to his siblings, and fix them from stop them from having the apocalypse.
In the meanwhile, Allison decides she's going to meddle, which is her only character trait. And she's mad about Leonard, who, as we recall, is sort of dating Vanya. Vanya gets mad, naturally, and stops taking her pills. Yeah. And then she also auditions for first chair in the orchestra and gets it. Well done.
But
at the same time, she unlocks her secret super mutant powers.
Because she stopped taking her pills.
Which, to explain Vanya's powers, it's sort of like if you put a nuclear reactor inside a person. And that is the only explanation we will get as she demonstrates multiple non-connected powers throughout the rest of the show.
Yeah, and they're all triggered by their emotions.
It's very loosey-goosey so that you don't have to be married to any one thing. And that's just sort of how it's going to be. Now, in this episode, we get a lot going on in episode 5. We find Klaus destroys his briefcase after returning from his time travel. And he comes back like fucked up. He comes back with, doesn't he come back with his long hair? Or that's the next season. He comes back, he's in military fatigues, he's got dog tags. Apparently he traveled back in time, fought in the Vietnam War, lost someone close to him, and is just chock full of trauma now.
Lost like his first
proper love.
And only.
Yeah.
First and only like love that we see Klaus have, aside from like drugs. So
pretty much. Luther and Five trick Hazel and Cha Cha into setting up a meeting with the Handler in order to get a new briefcase because Klaus stole theirs. She then offers Five a new job, which he accepts under the condition that his family survives. Vanya, once again, got the first chair, tells Leonard. However, unbeknownst to her, Leonard, who is just a normal guy, by the way, but he's a little bit crazy.
He thinks because he was born on the same day as the kids that he is also special.
He's not. He's just weird.
Or he, at the very least, always wanted to be part of their family.
And so what he had done is he killed the former first chair violinist, therefore opening up the spot for Vanya to get it. So that's nice. That's a nice thing to do for somebody. And we had never mentioned this, but
Pogo.
the family has a live-in
Butler,
sentient butler
personal
ape
assistant.
named Pogo, and he's a cool guy.
Pogo's great. We love Pogo.
Uh,
I miss Pogo. We never get to see him.
I don't. He turned bad. Now, we skipped episode 6 where we actually get to live through the nightmare that is Klaus's time travel, where he jumps straight back to the Vietnam War, falls in love with a soldier named Dave, gets persecuted for being gay. In the meanwhile, we're flashing back to the present where Cha-Cha now gets orders from the commission to kill Hazel.
Because Hazel's kind of falling in love with the donut shop owner.
However, Cha-Cha's bad at her job, so she does not succeed in eliminating Hazel. Luther lets everybody know that about the impending apocalypse, but is bad at public speaking and fails to inspire the team to want to do anything about it, really. And Vanya gets mad because she was excluded from the chat because, remember, no one knows that she has powers. And she unknowingly causes a rainstorm and just bends a bunch of street lamps in half.
Vanya / Victor's powers will never be explained.
They won't, and you just have to fucking deal with it.
Yep.
Now, Klaus asks his brother Diego to help him get sober, hoping that he can muster up his mojo and commune with the dead to see Dave, his Vietnam War love, before the world ends. So that kicks off, and Luther, feeling all big sad, discovers that his moon research was basically Hargreaves sort of like sticking him in a place and leaving him be.
And then we find out later, and I'm going to bring it up now because it's something that was mentioned that has been in my mind since the final season, and I can't make sense of it, that Luther was actually placed on the moon to guard her name just escaped me. But
isn't it Abigail?
Abigail Hargreaves' body?
But they didn't tell him that.
They didn't tell him that. And they didn't tell anybody else that. That was never... Like, am I wrong? And you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember that being ever made clear. And then was just kind of in the mess that is season 4, which we will get to, was just kind of thrown in there. And we're going to kind of zoom through the rest of this. Basically, Leonard turns out to be a bad guy that's manipulating Vanya into basically causing the apocalypse. We find out that Allison is the reason that Vanya doesn't have any powers, because when they were children, Reginald got scared of Vanya's powers because Vanya's powers are a lot, and
they are a lot.
Not really controlled or able to be controlled or anything that he can understand, really, because again, they're not really defined in any specific way. So he has Allison
rumor her powers away,
make Vanya forget that she has powers with her powers. And yeah,
also there's like this romantic arc between Luther and Allison, which is
from when
weird.
They were children. They're not related. Weird. They're not related.
Look, the whole time the language of the show is that they act and function as siblings throughout the show. The whole group of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the only two to ever do anything sort of romantic at all are Luther and Allison. But Allison also has like 3 or 4 love interests throughout the whole show, and she turns out to be incapable of keeping anyone around because 1, she's fucking terrible, and 2, she's very me-oriented.
Mm-hmm.
Which, look, we can blame it on the fact that she was raised in such a nightmare space. But some characters are not redeemable, and I like to rail on some characters for how poorly written they are, I think a lot of those characters, like Tina Goldstein, I rail on Tina Goldstein for being poorly written, and the reason I think she's poorly written is I don't think there's enough being written for her. Right? The reason Allison Hargreaves is poorly written is because there's too much. There's too much written. Like, there's too much in her backstory. She does too many things, and not one of those things that she does is a redeemable or positive oriented action. All of it is self-serving. All of it is self-loathing, and like, it's a deeply traumatizing and sad character that never has a redemption. I mean, well, I don't know if that's what they were going for in the show. Like, I don't know if that was the point of the Allison character, but she doesn't serve anything.
No.
There's no foil for her. There's
Most of the time she's being like really bitchy and not wanting to even use her powers because she traumatized herself, and
it like they go out of their way to explain every bad thing that she does and give you a reason. So it's not like I guess I should say she's not poorly written. Just objectively. She's well written objectively. However, the objective of her story is that she's awful 24/7 the whole show. There's not like I can't think of a single arc in any season where she is the benefactor of anything, where she does anything helpful, or where she's nice to anyone at all.
I mean, somewhat in season 4, we actually get to see her do shit and be present in the family, but it's season 4, and so it's
Yeah,
already
the story being so fucked in season 4 doesn't help.
yeah.
Now, to wrap up season 1, the end of the world is because Vanya's mad
And explodes the moon.
and she explodes the moon. And the moon, by the way, if it explodes, will end the Earth. So we should not explode the moon.
Yeah, it explodes the moon, and it causes a bunch of the chunks of the moon to like rain down on Earth too. It's a whole mess, and it's definitely caused because Vanya's mad at her siblings.
Yep. And also her dad.
And also Leonard.
She did kill Leonard though in episode 9.
Yeah.
I there's just so much that goes on, and at the end of the season, Hazel, Agnes, the donut shop owner, and the Umbrella Academy kids escape via a briefcase into the past.
Separate briefcases, but
Yes.
Yes.
Separate briefcases, and they go into the past, and that's how season 1 ends.
and actually the Umbrella Academy kids don't escape with a briefcase. 5 uses his powers, which is how they end up in different years, is because 5 still can't really time travel. He actually learns how to like fully time travel in the next season. But yeah, that's season 1. Overall, like I said, I think it's the best season. It has the most cohesive storyline. It's definitely the, at least in my opinion, like the neatest as far as like theme and visuals, and like it's just the cleanest season in my opinion, because as we progress we keep getting funkier with time, and when you keep getting funkier with time, things keep getting messy
Yeah.
and confusing.
Yeah.
So I think this season is just really nice and good to end on, or to begin with. Not to end on, to begin with. You know what? End it there. No, James liked the second season, which we'll talk about now. So the second season, everyone is transported to different years in the 60s.
Somewhere between February of 1960 and October of 1963, but they all end up in Dallas. So that's nice.
I've got the location correct, just not the time.
Five gets there November of 1963, minutes before a nuclear doomsday, which he later figures out is because JFK does not get assassinated.
Because the siblings fucked up.
And they might have something to do with the JFK assassination.
So there's that. So we have another impending apocalypse that Five is trying to stop because his siblings are all idiots.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, pretty much.
That's basically the premise of the entire show is Five trying to clean up after his family.
Yeah.
Because he loves his family. He might not act like it all the time, but he does. He loves his family. And that's kind of the whole story of the Umbrella Academy in a nutshell is Five is constantly trying to save his family from their idiot selves.
Yeah.
Because they can't get their fucking shit together. But yeah. So we're in the 60s. Impending apocalypse. And
3 Swedish assassins straight up roll up and kill Hazel.
Yep.
Who manages to slip a little bit of a roll of film into Five's pocket before he dies. Five space travels, winds up in the house of a man named Elliot, who agrees to give him a hand. Now we get a sort of zoom out to the rest of the siblings and what they're up to in the 60s. Because for what's really funny to me about this show is every time they do a time travel, everyone just sort of does like a factory reset and just goes back to like try to figure out a new thing to do in whatever timeline they're in. They're very go with the flow people, I think.
I think it's more like a survivalist instinct of like that's what they have to do, because I don't think they ever really got to figure out what they were supposed to do post the Umbrella Academy. I think they're all kind of lost, so every time they get like you said, basically a reset, they have to basically start over and make a new identity in life for themselves. So I think it's kind of freeing in a way for them because they never got the chance to really do that.
Well, it always gets ruined because they start apocalypses.
Yeah.
Luther is a bodyguard for Jack Ruby. Diego is in an asylum simply because he wants to prevent the JFK assassination.
That's Diego's big thing, is being he has a hero complex like none other.
Oh, it's severe.
And so his thought process is,
we're in the past. Let's save the guy from getting assassinated.
Yeah. Other people start cults. So
sex cults. Allison, whose voice is healed from being fucked up by Vanya in the previous season, married a civil rights activist named Ray, and leads to some of the most tense racially oriented scenes I've seen on television.
And very well
they're
handled. Yeah, like they're well done.
I'll tell you this. Allison's not a really great character. The situations that Allison gets into are some of the most well-crafted in terms of story writing. She just happens to bungle all of them every time.
Yeah, that's just a trait of the Hargreaves in general. Like I said, they get given these really great opportunities, and just due to who they are, they fuck them up every single time.
So Klaus and Ben Ghost Ben.
Yeah, we never really talked about the fact that Klaus communes with Ghost Ben on a regular basis through all of season 1, and will continue to do that through season 2.
Yeah, pretty much.
Ben's just there, but only Klaus can see and hear him most of the time. So
yeah, so Klaus and Ben accidentally start a cult. Vanya has amnesia and winds up living with a married couple called Sissy and Carl, and nannies their son Harlan. The Swedes roll up to the asylum and chase Diego, who escapes the asylum with Lila, who is a new character, who also is one of the kids with powers, but her powers are way cooler than everyone else's.
We also don't know that she has. Later. I was like, we also don't know that she's one of the kids.
Yeah, at the moment, we just think she's a fucking psycho.
She is definitively insane.
Yeah, she do be crazy.
Mentioned multiple times by multiple characters. So, but yeah, they escape out the asylum, and
that's basically the end of episode 1. We carry on through the season 3 months after Hazel had shot the handler, which was a minor thing that occurred, but it occurred a while ago.
she almost dies like multiple times until like
the end of the season.
Yeah.
She goes back to the commission to find out that she's been demoted by her boss, which is a talking fish named AJ.
She sucks.
She does suck. Carl, who owns the house that Vanya lives in, gets drunk at Jack Ruby's club. Vanya goes there to pick him up, and Luther spots her. But we do need to remember, Vanya has amnesia. She does not recall fucking shit about shit.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a big old fat plot point for the rest of the season. Back with Elliot, who's helping out Five. Five, Diego, and Lila all watched the film that Hazel gave to Five just before he died. And Diego and Five see Reginald in the film holding an umbrella, Umbrella Academy, on Dealey Plaza, presumably during the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah, which is when we kind of get the first hint that Sir Reginald Hargreaves is not all that not all that we know him to be. He's not just some guy. He is, at the very least, right now, an ageless being.
Yeah.
Because he looks the exact same in the photo from the 60s as he does in the present when we first meet the siblings.
Allison's husband, Ray, the civil rights activist, he gets arrested, and he and Klaus bond in jail. Then Klaus gets released. When Allison shows up to visit Ray in jail, she notices that another one of the people in the jail has the same hand tattoos as Klaus. I believe it's the hello, goodbye, right?
Yeah, because the whole cult gets the tattoos.
Hello and goodbye on the palms of their hands. Very cool tattoo ideas. Luther goes to Sissy's farm to apologize to Vanya for being awkward. She doesn't remember him, so he leaves. Diego and Five sneak into Reginald's business, and Five comes across young Pogo. Diego and Reginald fight, and Reginald beats his ass, stabs Diego for walking away. And that's fucking the end of episode 2. Then we get the Swedish Job, which is it's a episode and a half. I'll tell you what, there's a lot that goes on, so just sort of like buckle in and hang on tight. Once again, back at Elliot's house, Lila saves Diego, and then they fuck.
As you do,
right? Vanya goes out for the night and is intercepted by the Swedes, and the Swedes don't say much, but they do a lot of murdering. And they chase her into a cornfield where her innate powers sort of take over control of her amnesiac mind, and she stops them. Five finds her in the morning, having passed out due to her powers, and explains the situation, taking mental note that her powers are sort of dormant but get activated by like deep trauma. Allison reunites with Klaus, who sends Ben to give a spook to the police, and thus releasing Ray from prison. Back at his home, Ray finds Luther looking for Allison, and we get, ooh, so awkward. Luther still has a boner for his sister. They're not related. Not related. But he does want to bang her. So that's that, that's very awkward. Luther then leaves after he finds out that she's married. Luther always gets the short end of the stick, but he's also the most cheerful, so that's what he gets.
He does get the short end of the stick, and it's never really resolved for him. Like, he just keeps maintaining this family attitude, even though he constantly keeps getting probably the most fucked over by his family.
Oh, yeah.
Especially season 3 to season 4. But, like, yeah, he just keeps maintaining this I love everybody attitude. We should all stick together because we're family attitude. even though they all treat him like shit.
So Allison then participates in a sit-in at a whites-only diner, which they had those in the 60s. Let's remember, the 60s are not that long ago. Holy shit. So we have the sit-in that's organized by Ray, and it's tense, as it was. Klaus finds young Dave working at a paint store,
Oh.
and he argues back and forth with Ben about wanting to prevent Dave from enlisting in the military because Dave enlists in the military after Kennedy gets assassinated, thusly landing him in Vietnam to fall in love with Klaus and then get killed. Right. So that's heart-wrenching and sad.
It's awful. I hated watching that whole scene. I was like, just no, Klaus, just no.
Ray goes to his sit-in and is arrested with the rest of the protesters. And before fleeing the scene with Klaus, Allison uses her powers to make a police officer stop beating Ray, who then runs away, confused and deeply traumatized about who she actually is. Then Lila leaves Diego, who is recently healed, and goes to a hotel where it is revealed that she works for the commission alongside the handler, who is her adoptive mother.
Also, 5 murdered her parents.
Yeah. Do we learn that in this episode?
Not in this episode.
That later. We learn that later.
We learn that later, but it is this season that we find out that 5 murdered her parents. Old 5, not new 5. Past old 5. Yeah, time travel. So yeah.
God. There's just so much that goes on in this season.
Yeah, there's a lot. We also kind of speeding through at least the Vanya plotline. Like Vanya ends up falling in love with Sissy, who is
semi to verifiably abused by Carl.
Yeah. So they start a relationship. At one point she saves the son from Harlan. He had drowned. And she saves him, but in doing so, she kind of transfers some of her powers to Harlan. That'll come into play later. Yep. So hold on to that. And that's kind of the rest of Vanya's story. Klaus and Ben kind of hang out with their cult for most of it until like the final few episodes where they have to all go. The siblings in every season eventually do all have to reunite and like
deal with an apocalypse that's occurring.
But for most of the time he's hanging out with his cult. Ben has fallen in love with someone in the cult, and Klaus gives him permission to like possess his body.
Does that happen this season?
Yeah, because the cult's only this season, James.
Sorry, there's more. There's a lot that goes on. There's like a lot that happens in season 2.
It's kind of why I'm just speeding through some of it so that we can get to the important ending. So, Klaus lets Ben possess his body and have time with this woman because Ben's life has kind of always sucked. And then that's really everybody except 5 and Lila to get them to the big kind of crazy reveal that's happening at the end, which all centers around the JFK assassination.
5 also kills everyone at the commission.
Yeah, so
like he just goes fucking postal.
The handler basically tells 5 that if she'll take care of his family, send them all back to where they belong, everything will be hunky-dory if he goes and kills the entire commission board
at their quarterly meeting.
So he does, because again, 5 just cares about his siblings. And so he goes and he literally, in one of the most insane action sequences, just fucking murders the shit out of everybody.
It was great.
I'd call it a fight scene, but it's not really a fight. It's just kind of 5 going postal.
Yeah.
And basically everybody regroups because 5 is given like a short period of time to get everybody back to their the normal timeline in 2019.
Oh yeah, you're right. That is when Klaus allows Ben to possess his body so Ben can make out with Jill.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so much, dude.
Um,
I love this season. I like this. I like season 2 the most.
uh, Vanya basically helps Sissy and Harlan escape from their abusive situation, but she does not go with them. Um, because she basically uses her powers to fight off police officers and then is knocked unconscious. Um, and the academy cannot get their shit together, and
Vanya gets kidnapped by the police.
yeah, they do not make their timeline to go back in to 2019. Vanya, because she
Speaks Russian.
is suspected of being a spy, so they go torture her, which torturing the superpowered person
Always a great idea.
Basically is what causes the apocalypse to happen. We also get our first introduction of I don't know what it's called. It has a name, but basically time traveling sickness. If you get too close to another version of yourself, weird things start to happen to you. And Old Five, was apparently the one that was responsible for making sure that the JFK assassination happened. And Young Five knows this and basically tries to use Old Five's portal to get back to 2019 with his family, because he knows that on this day is the day that he transported back to 2019. It gets real wonky. Time travel is confusing. It doesn't work anyways.
Lila kidnaps Diego to force him to work at the commission and remain her boyfriend, which is certifiable psycho person behavior.
And basically everybody right now is just trying to get to Vanya to stop her from basically blowing everything up. But the only person that can is someone that's not actually on this plane of existence. So Ben, basically everyone tries to get to Vanya, and the only person that can get to Vanya is Ben. And Ben enters Vanya's mind and calms her down, basically. But in doing so, that basically takes all his powers away. Like he can't stay on this plane anymore. He basically dies a second death, essentially. And so he sacrifices himself to save Vanya. You good, bro? This is your favorite season.
All right, I should have fucking rewatched it. I forgot. Okay, there's like 2 ends to the fucking season.
Yeah, because we have this whole thing where they stop the apocalypse thanks to Ben.
And then the next episode where they fight the commission.
Yeah.
And Vanya kills everybody.
Yeah, because the commission got mad at them because they fuck with time too much. So they literally send like everyone to fight them. And
Lila reveals that she can mirror powers.
Yep, and the 5 learns how to appropriately time travel.
The handler kills everybody.
Yeah.
The handler kills all of the siblings. Except for 5.
And then 5 time travels back just enough time to stop that from happening.
Yep.
And then
Vanya also demonstrates that she can take her powers back from Harlan.
Yeah. And that's kind of it. They make a deal with the commission after all this is kind of settled and been sorted out. And they go back to 2019.
Now, they do go back to 2019, but they go back to 2019 where a not dead Reginald Hargreaves formed a Sparrow Academy instead of the Umbrella Academy, consisting of 5 different children, a floating green cube, and a not dead asshole Ben.
And they do this, or they he does this because they went and met him back in time, like together as a family, and he decided they were so messed up. Those are not the kids that I should adopt in the future. So he adopts a whole other set, but he didn't know about Ben, so he still adopts Ben. Um, but yeah, that's Umbrella Academy season 2 summarized. I didn't like season 2 as much as season 1. I know some people really liked season 2, James being one of them, but
I really liked season 2.
it just it didn't feel the same to me,
It is the highest rated season of all the seasons.
which is so crazy because I feel like season 1 is just so much better.
It isn't, though. Season 1 is arguably worse in almost every way, but not by like a significant amount. It's not like it's, oh, season 1 is just drastically worse. No, season 1's just a little bit not as good.
I just like the vibes in season 1 a lot more than season 2. I feel like season 2 was just too campy almost.
I think that's what drew everyone into it because it's a comic book. Season 2 is the most like a comic book would be.
I liked season 1 because it was grittier. It was it was I mean, for lack of a better term, it was more like a DC comic, like a Gotham style universe. You're in the city, you get all these really intense like fight scenes.
Well, the good news is this is not a DC Comics brand. This is Dark Horse Comics, and Dark Horse Comics are fucking weird. And the
True.
Umbrella Academy is fucking weird.
True.
I like that they ditched the grittier, just sort of nonstop trauma dump. But then, even then, this season, okay, the reason this season is so much better is everyone gets a storyline. In season 1, not everyone gets a proper storyline. Luther doesn't get shit in season 1.
I don't feel like Luther got anything in this season either. I don't feel like Luther ever gets a good storyline except season 3.
You're not wrong, but Luther in this season was the vehicle of like taking the viewer where the viewer needed to go. Like, because Luther is the persistent goer and doer of things, you follow him to all the places to see all the stuff. And also 5. But I also like this is doing time travel good.
True.
I feel like we do time travel a lot in media, and more often
especially recently.
More often than not, time travel is done bad, and it's complicated. It doesn't make a lot of sense. They go out of their way in season 2 to do it well and to explain everything that they're doing.
Yeah, they do make it so, at least right now, they make it very clear how time travel works in this universe, how things function. The commission, you spend a lot of time with the commission in this season. They do clean up time travel in a way that doesn't make your brain hurt. Hold on to that thought though, because it gets fucking weird later. But yeah, no, I don't know. It felt so jarringly different from season 1 to season 2 that I didn't get the same feel. I didn't get the same vibes that I enjoyed in season 1 so much.
Well, season 3 is the beginning of Shit Island.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in the next episode. When we go to fucking
Hotel Oblivion.
When do they even get to Hotel Oblivion? Like, is that like 3 or 4 episodes in?
Thereabouts, yeah.
It's like halfway through.
You don't get to vote because you already voted. But we are going to take a break to go check on our child and stuff.
God, I can't believe they only did 6 episodes.
So we will be right back.
Fucking I did not get more chicken salad. I got a beer.
It's like a meal, but not.
Eat the carbs.
All right. Our child is alive. So
Oh.
you're right. It is paradox psychosis. I could not remember the name of it. Oh. Yeah. How you doing? You wanna read this one before? This season starts off with one of my favorite scenes of all time, which is the Footloose dance number. What are you doing? Defending on honor, bro. I've rewatched that same clip like an unhealthy amount of times. Luther, what are you doing? I got this feeling. I'm watching James's brain like relearn what happened in season 3.
Yeah, just hang on for like 2 minutes.
Okay.
Fuck you.
Are you talking about Allison? You can all watch James's face change with me. How's everybody? Doing good? Having a good time? It's been a while since we've all chatted. We have a baby. I know we already said that, but we have a baby. That's what we've been doing. The baby took their first bath. They're 2 weeks old. Baby was 20 inches at birth and has grown another inch. So, giant baby. Thin baby, but giant baby.
Oh, I forgot about that. About that too.
What do you remember from this season?
Like the last 2 episodes.
That's the only important parts, really.
Oh, yeah. I also like don't know exactly what happens in the last episode. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I had to watch the new Rockstars breakdown to understand exactly what happened in Hotel Oblivion. Because was not clear at all. And that's where I start to have problems with Umbrella Academy, and I'll probably talk more about it later, but just to fill space while James reads. I feel like we went from a universe that was very, at least, like, well explained and well established, and then I feel like season 3 just made no fucking sense. Suddenly there's a hotel that's like on 2 different planes of existence or timelines or whatever, and the hotel is actually a machine that Reginald built to reset everything if need be? Question mark?
Oh fuck, I forgot about that. Jesus Christ, so much happened in this season too, but all of it's bad, so I didn't like it. Look, you know what? Season 2 was the only fun season.
Because people were happy.
Yes.
You want your characters to be happy, James?
Yes. Did you save that one?
Yeah. I just need to open a new one.
Cool.
You ready?
You're gonna fucking carry because I don't fucking know shit, man.
Okay, well then I'm gonna do this. Alrighty, here we go. 3, 2, 1. What we realized on our break is that James doesn't remember a lot of things that happened in season 3 of the Umbrella Academy.
I didn't like it very much. I blocked it out of my mind.
It's probably the most convoluted season, even with the last one being a shit show. It definitely is probably the most convoluted season plot-wise. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And as James stated just a minute ago, it's all bad.
There's not a single good thing that occurs.
I mean, Luther finds Sloane and they get married.
Yeah, that goes over real well.
Alrighty. So at the
I mean, like season 3 is also the last season
with source material.
With source material.
Yes.
So, you know, if I have gripe with the story, I have gripe with the fucking comic. And that's fine. But boy, oh boy, is this shit whack as fuck.
So the season opens exactly where we left off in season 2, except at this point, Elliot Page has transitioned fully. So they are wearing
a top tier wig.
The world's most horrible wig I've ever seen in my entire life.
It's not good.
It's so bad.
It's bad.
So bad.
Bad wig.
They get rid of it as quickly as they can.
It takes them 3 episodes.
But you gotta stare at it for a really long time, and it's really awful looking. But, yes. So, we start off with the Sparrows and the umbrellas facing off, basically. Both claiming that they're like the family that should be there, and none of them really understand what's going on right now. We see one of the Sparrows like shoot some acid out of their mouth at Diego. Which is only important because everything that happens from this point on doesn't actually happen. But it's the best fucking thing I've seen in television in a minute. They have a dance-off.
Yep.
As they're fighting, and it's fantastic. They do it to Footloose, and the Sparrows and the Umbrellas have a huge dance-off, and it's great. And if you watch nothing else in this season, you should at least go watch that. Yeah, so thanks to the changes they made in the past, the Hargreaves siblings kind of find themselves in a parallel universe. Different academy full of superpowered crime fighters that did much better than they did. They're still together and like actively do crime fighting.
They didn't cause apocalypses. And
they don't all hate each other. They're like much better than the Umbrella Academy. But they are also about to face another apocalypse, which is basically the complete collapse of that world's timeline as they know it, because again, they appeared.
They created a Kugelblitz.
Yeah, by coming back to this timeline, they created a Kugelblitz, and if you don't know what a Kugelblitz is, it is essentially
It's a timeline absorbing black hole.
yeah, basically they can't all exist in the same place at the same time, so the whole thing must be deleted is the way that time is trying to write itself, because the commission doesn't exist anymore because 5 killed them all, remember?
Yeah.
So yeah, they meet the Sparrow Academy, which is 7 other adopted siblings. It's also October 1st is the day all the siblings are born. I said 14th earlier. My apologies. I suck. I've said a different day.
You've said 14th and 10th before.
Yeah, and
It's like you don't even know the source material?
I refuse to remember what day the siblings were born, because guess what? It's only relevant one fucking time. So you got Muscular Marcus. You have Faye, who controls ravens.
Yup.
That's really it. Christopher, which is a floating telekinetic cube.
Jamie, who does mind powers with venom that she spits.
Which is how we get the really cool dance sequence that doesn't actually happen. Sloane levitates.
Yep, she can't fly though, which is lame.
And Alfonso, who's basically a voodoo doll.
But for everyone else.
Yeah, he can cause others to feel pain inflicted on him. But also his body deteriorates
The more he
punishment. He does it. And then Ben, which we all know Ben. Love Ben. Except this is asshole Ben.
Yep, this Ben is a dick.
And will continue to be so. Like, he does not get better.
Yep, pretty much. I mean, yeah. They're not friends. They all hate each other. They fight immediately.
Yeah, they literally, they do the dance-off, but then the dance-off ends and they start fighting, and that's when Reginald kind of breaks down exactly what happened, where he tells the Umbrellas, he's like, well, I met y'all, and y'all kind of sucked, so I decided not to do that again, and learn from my future mistakes, and I adopted better children. And basically, because the Umbrella Academy can't stay at their house. What?
Nothing.
Basically, because the Umbrella Academy can't stay at their house, they go stay at the Hotel Obsidian, which is a luxury hotel that Klaus
used to hang out in.
Yeah.
/ steal drugs in.
/
take drugs in.
/ other activities.
Dude, just say the words, man.
No.
Okay.
I'm a good girl.
No.
I don't know such things.
No.
That's
not true.
Turns out the hotel was originally built by Reginald. 'Cause of course it fucking was.
And it hides a portal to another universe. Yep. The wall in the White Buffalo Suite.
Yep.
But before they figure that out, a bunch of people start disappearing, and wouldn't you know why? It's because the Kugelblitz is in the basement of the Hargreaves house, and it's absorbing people through waves of, like, shock waves that destroy,
like, basically Thanos
things.
Snap out of existence.
And it's already consumed Marcus, the head honcho over there at the Sparrow Academy,
which is causing tension.
It causes a lot of problems because no one knows where Marcus is, and everyone assumes the other team has him. Big problems. So the Sparrows kidnap Luther because they assume that the Umbrella Academy has Marcus, which is not true.
And that's what leads Luther and Sloane to have feelings and relations, because he can't find anyone outside of...
He has to find other weird people. He has to find weird people that are canonically his sister.
Yeah. Yeah.
God damn it. This show's so fucking weird.
It's so weird, but it's so good.
Yeah, it is really good, but it's just so fucking weird.
So 5 gets a hold of a briefcase and goes to the commission, which is deteriorating because again
It's in shambles.
he murdered everybody. Well, he murdered the board, and it's kind of just falling apart. And he talks to his older self and learns about the Kugelblitz and the Kugel waves. These are real things.
Caused by the grandfather paradox, which happens because they showed up in this timeline.
They showed up in this timeline, and their parents, their mothers were murdered before they gave birth to the kids. So the kids do not exist in this timeline. The umbrellas do not exist in this timeline.
So they're not supposed to be here, and yet they are here. Therefore, grandfather paradox, therefore Kugelblitz, therefore apocalypse. Ba, 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 ba.
Yeah.
And that's season 3. To joke, there's a lot more.
So it turns out that Harlan, you remember Harlan, the person that got powers from Victor in a previous timeline, grew up and went and murdered all their mothers.
Yup.
Because...
Yup. So they didn't... Okay, so the jump from season 2 to season 3 is in the same timeline.
Mm-hmm.
But they shunt into the future where they're supposed to be, and Harlan, having grown up, living a miserable life because he's got powers from Vanya, who saved him from drowning.
But didn't take them away.
And didn't take them away all the way. Winds up getting so mad that he goes out and he kills all of the Umbrella Academy's mothers before they can be hit with the marigold and give birth to the babies.
Oh yeah, the marigold. We haven't talked about the marigold yet because it's not really brought up or explained or talked about until this season. But the marigold is how
everything works.
Everything works. It's how the kids get their powers. Basically, and we get this through some scenes and flashbacks throughout the seasons, but Reginald
unleashed marigold on the planet
to save his dead wife.
Who invented marigold. And we'll get into the fucking bullshit that is that in season 4.
But yeah, but that's basically what you need to know right now. Is that Reginald released the marigold to save his dead, she was already dead, wife, by making it possible for her to come back somehow on a different planet. And that's his whole motivation for everything that he's done with the siblings up until this point. Yeah. Allison sucks this entire season because her daughter doesn't exist in this timeline because she never exists in this timeline. So she's just a whiny bitch baby the entire fucking time, and that's all you really need to know.
Okay, here's one of the worst parts about this. If the Allison that we have this season makes sense only if you have seen her previously give a shit about her daughter. However, we have seen her simply not give a shit about her daughter for the whole prior existence of the show.
I mean, in season 1, she gives a shit about her daughter, but
a little.
She's banned from seeing her daughter because that one time she rumored her daughter to sleep and her husband got angry and claimed that she was abusing the child and took parental rights away and divorced her.
She's the victim of her own stupid ass mistakes. But
yeah,
if we had a shred of visual evidence of she and her daughter having this beautiful relationship, which does not exist, then her reaction to losing her daughter in this season and the character transformation that she takes on would make total sense. It would all add up, and you could look at Allison and go, I have sympathy and empathy for that character. However, we don't see any of that shit. We don't know any of that shit. So she's just a fucking asshole the whole time over a relationship that we don't have any evidence of, that we are being told to assume was really good, but given everything we know about Allison, we already know it can't possibly have been that good. So you're looking at it going, why are you so fucking awful to everyone all the time? Because you jumped forward in time to a place where you don't exist, therefore your daughter can't exist. Like, the situation is binary, and the character has a normal human reaction, but there's no justification for it in the prior stories.
I mean, I feel like there was in season 1. I'm still gonna argue that there was, because I mean, we see like she mentions that she always tells her daughter stories about the Umbrella Academy, and we do see the scene where she like gets mom brained, and she just basically wants her child to go to sleep, and her child's refusing to go to sleep, and so she rumors her asleep because she's a tired mom. Like, I get it. I don't know. I feel like she calls her daughter before the apocalypse happens just so she can hear her voice. Like, I feel like there's some evidence that she loved her daughter.
Oh, it's not about her loving her daughter. It's about there being a relationship between the two. Everything we see is one-sided.
Mm. True.
Like, any relationship that is there is one-sided to the viewer, and therefore lacking any emotional backbone for the payoff.
Allison aside, let's talk about Lila and Diego.
Okay.
Lila shows up with a child.
Surprise.
Tells Diego that's his kid that she had sometime somewhere else. Because she can still time travel. She still has a briefcase. So she drops off this child with Diego and is like, time for you to be a dad. Bye.
And she fucks off. In reality, she's just babysitting her friend's kid.
Yeah, and doesn't want to. So she makes Diego do it.
And then Stan kills Klaus.
Yeah, Stan does accidentally kill Klaus, which is where we find out that Klaus can't actually die. Who knew?
I didn't. Boy, I tell you what, nothing is more horrifying than finding out someone's immortal that you've been just really vibing with for 2 seasons.
Yeah, we all thought Klaus just died. And he didn't. But it was traumatizing for at least like a solid 30 minutes. Stan goes missing because he figures out about the universe portal in the White Buffalo Suite. And Lila and Diego go to rescue Stan, but they figure out that there's a guardian in the other universe, and it takes off 2 of Diego's fingers. And
yep.
They rescue Stan, and then a Kugel wave makes him disappear. That's that. But we find out that it's not actually Diego's kid, and that Lila's just an insane person.
She is actually pregnant with Diego's kid, though.
Yes, we do find out that she is actually pregnant, and it is actually Diego's.
But that comes later.
But she's just pregnant. She didn't have the baby yet.
Yeah.
They eventually figure out that the Kugelblitz is in the mansion's basement. And they come up with this plan to basically use Christopher, the cube. You remember the cube. To use Christopher to kind of like trap it. And they're successful. Briefly. But it ends up, the Kugelblitz breaks free and kills Christopher and Faye, 2 of the sparrows.
And then also Sloane.
No, Sloane doesn't die.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. The Umbrella Academy with Sloane and Ben and Reginald get out.
Yeah, they all go back to Hotel Oblivion. where they decide to basically wait out the end of the world because no one can stop the Kugelblitz. They had like one plan.
It didn't work.
So
and then
that's
they're like,
it.
fuck it.
So they all go to the hotel.
I will say the wedding episode with Luther and Sloane getting married was one of the best episodes of the show.
Yeah, they have a beautiful, happy wedding. The family gets to kind of be a family. Luther asks Victor in a really sweet moment to be his best man. It's all a really good, happy, feel-good episode that ends with
Reginald kills Luther.
Reginald killing Luther.
It's a bit fucked up.
Yeah. And we also find out that Allison has made a deal with Reginald from a drunken Five, because Five got fucking wasted at the wedding. But we find out that Allison has made a deal with Reginald. But we don't know what that deal is. But we know that there's a deal that's been made. Basically, Reginald wants everyone to go through the portal in the other universe to
fight the Guardian and activate a machine.
Yeah, because remember how I said the whole hotel was a machine to basically act as like a reset in case things got hairy, which they have with the Kugelblitz. So that's kind of what happens after the wedding, is that the siblings go in there and ring the 7 bells, fight the Guardian.
And then they get trapped in this life force sucking machine.
Yeah, it's taking their marigold.
Yeah.
Which is what is needed to power the machine.
It may also be killing them. It's unclear.
And the deal that Allison made was that she gets basically the life she always wanted. She gets Ray from her 60s life, Claire from her first 2019 life, and basically still gets to be a celebrity because Allison was a famous actress originally. So she basically gets everything she wants in exchange for making the siblings sacrifice their marigold.
And then she kills Reginald.
Because she realized it's killing the siblings, and that wasn't what she wanted. So she kills him and resets the universe, but the machine wasn't done yet. Because the machine wasn't done yet, it didn't cause like a full reset in the timeline, which is important come season 4 because things are bleeding through the timelines. Artifacts.
Now shit's all out of whack.
Artifacts, people have memories from multiple timelines. Things are just really messy.
And at the end of the season, everyone comes out of the hotel into the courtyard, and they find out that they don't have powers anymore, and they all scatter into the city.
Yeah, there's not really a reason for them to be together. Sloane is missing, and don't worry, no explanation will be given there. Sloane just disappears. We never find out what happens to her.
I assume she got consumed by the Kugelblitz.
That would be the easy answer.
What the fuck happened to Sloane?
No one knows. They didn't explain it.
The internet will have an answer for me.
They don't, because it was supposed to be explained in season 4 and it fucking wasn't. Everyone's pissed. Mainly because people just want Luther to fucking be happy. Yeah.
Oh, there's an answer.
Also, I stand corrected as I'm looking at this Netflix review of season 3.
Uh-huh.
There was a quick glimpse of Abigail
on the moon,
cryogenically frozen on the moon. So I stand corrected. I must have forgotten that and missed that because I felt like that came out of nowhere for season 4, but apparently it was referenced. So my apologies.
Oh yeah, we talked about it in the last episode because Luther had to go.
I talked about it because
what's her face on the moon?
Yeah, I talked about it and I said that I didn't feel like that was ever explained at all.
Oh,
until season 4.
I saw it when we watched it.
Yeah, I didn't. I did, but I guess I like just was like, oh, that's not important. Yeah, they've all lost their powers. and Allison gets her best life. That's season 3. And then we go to fucking
The Abomination.
that really Game of Thrones that they normal seasons of Umbrella Academy have 10 episodes, much like the Game of Thrones season. And this one just had 6, much like the Game of Thrones season. Why? We don't know. They could have used 10, probably made some of this stuff make a little bit more sense. But essentially, season 4 starts 6 years after the siblings have all departed, and we once again get to see like a quick outline of their lives post the reset. Victor owns a bar and has apparently slept with every woman in town. It is kind of shitty at being a guy. Shitty guy.
Yeah.
And then Allison is an actress, but because she can't rumor her way to any role she wants like she used to, because she doesn't have powers, although her marigold wasn't absorbed. I thought about that a lot during the season.
Yeah, she can just do it. She can.
She doesn't have the powers. But they don't explain how her powers get taken away.
Well, we don't see her in the courtyard with everyone.
No, but her marigold was never absorbed. The only thing I could think about, though, is because she hated her powers so much. Maybe that was part of the deal from Reginald, is that she doesn't get it. Her powers are not there. None of them have powers. But in the machine, Allison's marigold wasn't absorbed because she wasn't standing on the fucking stars. Anyways, she can't rumor her way into good roles anymore, so she is doing like commercials and stuff. Klaus, now that he can die and is no longer immortal, has been sober for 3 years, but is terrified of fucking everything. I really hate what they did to Klaus's character this entire season. 5 works for the CIA and is still just 5. Luther is a stripper who has taken an interest in vintage home DIY projects. Diego and Lila have 3 kids now. Their first daughter that she was pregnant with, that they name after Diego's robot mom, Grace. And they have 2 twins. And Diego's trying to make ends meet being a delivery driver, but he sucks because he doesn't have powers to throw things anymore. And Lila is struggling being a mom and struggling with mom life. What is the answer to happen to Sloane?
It appears that because the new timeline that they jump into is handcrafted by Hargreaves, he, as per the deal, allegedly, eliminates every other Marigold holding child from existence except for the Umbrella Academy kids. So he unexistifies them. In theory. This is not explicitly stated. This is just implied by several kind of hand wavy things.
Okay. Ben is in jail for running a crypto scheme.
Yup. I'm really trying to fucking
understand
Allison, because I don't. She didn't fucking lose her powers.
No, she didn't. She wasn't on the stars. She did not get her marigold taken away.
So I don't understand why she didn't just use them to do stuff.
Because I don't think she has them.
This is as stupid as the fucking Wonka thing. What? Okay, if she didn't lose them, then why would she not have them?
Because
She has them, and then she doesn't have them, according to you.
yes,
So, how? Explain?
I would if the show did.
But she what you
states
said is stupid, and it makes me upset.
she states that she doesn't have her powers anymore.
Okay, she can lie.
Why wouldn't she use them to get herself better roles then? Because that's what
Because she hates them so much. She abided by not using them for her acting career, save the beginning of it, and all the other things. She jump-started her career with it, and then when she rumored her kid to sleep,
she stopped using.
She stopped using them indefinitely until she started using it again for combat purposes. So why would she not just be like, "Oh, I don't have my powers either"? Oh.
I mean, maybe.
And then it turns out that she does, and they're in fact very different. She can use her eyeballs to convince people to kill each other. Fucking crazy.
That's after she takes.
This season sucks balls.
That's after she takes the shot of Marigold.
This season sucks ass.
Anyways, basically the siblings have like kept in relative contact except for Victor and
Who went to Canada?
Asshole Ben, who hates them all.
Their obsession with hanging out with him and being around him is very dumb.
I think they have a lot of emotional trauma built up around Ben. And even though this isn't their Ben, they feel like a certain we got to get it right this time mentality.
Yeah, it also calls into question the whole Jennifer incident.
So the Jennifer incident. Let's talk about the Jennifer incident, because this is something that was always referenced, and it's one of those things kind of like the moon body thing, where if you didn't catch it, it's easy to miss, but Ben's death was always referred to as the Jennifer incident, and there will be no further details given.
Everyone failed as a team, and that's why Ben died.
Yeah. Everyone didn't work together as a team at the Jennifer incident, and Ben died. The end. That's the only story that we're given for most of the Umbrella Academy. Now, what apparently happened is there was this chick named Jennifer.
She was in a tube.
And Ben they were supposed to blow up the tube and never open it.
No, they were supposed to get it out. I thought. Like they weren't bombs that he was sticking to it.
I thought so too until I heard them say that they were supposed to blow up the tube. Yeah, I know. Either way, they're supposed to do something with this tube, not look inside it. Ben hears a person inside of it, rescues the person. They weren't supposed to do that. So they failed the mission, and in doing so, caused Hargreaves to kill both Ben and Jennifer.
Yep.
Because apparently, if Ben, specifically Ben, for reasons that will not be explained at all.
Nope.
That's my biggest frustration with the whole Ben Jennifer thing, is there's no explanation as to why it has to be Ben. But Ben and Jennifer specifically, if they come in contact with each other, bring about a monster that
Because Jennifer doesn't have Marigold.
She has Durango.
Now, here's your inciting incident. Because watch this season for yourself if you really want to, but like the nitty gritty of it is back when Abigail Hargreaves, fucking Reginald's wife, invented Marigold on like their planet or whatever the fuck.
Which led to the destruction of their planet.
By inventing the element Marigold, it created a negative of itself called Durango. And if you introduce Durango to Marigold, you effectively explode everything, the world as such. So Jennifer has Durango, and the two interacting with each other, Ben and Jennifer, brings about yet another apocalypse. The season feels very throwaway. It's not really related to prior seasons. They just use elements of prior seasons to start this season.
And basically, Abigail tries to go about ensuring that all this happens.
Yeah.
Because in her mind, Reginald should have just let her die and should not have brought Marigold to this new planet
To try and bring her back.
to doom it, basically.
Yeah.
And so...
Because if you remember, in the very beginning, Reginald Hargreaves unleashes Marigold on Earth, and that is what causes the spontaneous pregnancies and children born with powers, which leads to the apocalypses.
So it's all his fault.
Yep, everything's Reginald's fault.
Which is not surprising. That's the least surprising thing that's ever happened in the Umbrella Academy. So the siblings get a hold of some Marigold, and Ben spikes all their drinks and basically makes them ingest it, which gives them their powers back, but
Except
different.
for Klaus.
And Klaus fake takes it because he wants to stay sober. So he pretends to take it.
Yeah.
And they all wake up with their powers, but different. Like, Five can blink, but he can only blink to this weird subway tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
Allison, like James said, can now control people with her eyes. And she doesn't have to do I heard a rumor anymore. She can just kind of...
One of the coolest things about Allison's power to begin with was the fact that she could only use it with a precursor set of words, which means if her mouth was unavailable, her power was null and void. It was a really cool limitation because when you go through the list of all the kids' superpowers, there's limits to what they can and cannot do. Or there's things that they have to master in order to use them fully. Like Klaus, we don't even know he's fucking immortal until the end of season 3.
And then he has to go through a lot of trial and error to master that.
Yeah, he comes back, but it takes him like hours to draw his energy back to himself. And so he and Reginald in season 3 spend like a full day killing him and trying to fucking
make it so he comes back faster.
Yeah. The coolest thing about Allison's power was the fact that you have to say, I heard a rumor to start it. It was such a cool and interesting story device. And then in this season, and they sort of yada yada it for her too. She's like, this is different. I've never had this happen before, which is kind of like a funny joke because literally she just makes her eyes glow and then people do what she wants. But it takes away any narrative stuff that you could do with it. It basically just greases all the wheels instead of making you have to work for the payoff. You just get it. It's very uninspired and it's fucking lame. It's uninteresting. It's as uninteresting as the last 3 Avengers movies.
Victor still has like nuclear bomb powers, but the rest of their powers are gone, so they just have...
They can now just channel like a beam of violence.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool, honestly.
Diego honestly gets the best upgrade because Diego can now not only control projectiles that he throws, but projectiles that are thrown at him. So now he just controls the Matrix, basically.
We get fucking one moment where he bullet waves through the air, collecting all the bullets by a huge group of people that are shot at him, and then lands and fires them all back. And it's so sick, and it happens one time in a season with 4 less episodes than every other season, and it's unholy amounts of depressing. You could have salvaged a whole bunch of opinion on this season if you let Diego do more dope-ass Diego shit. Like, imagine if you could just, like, walk and people could shoot guns at you and you could be like, nah, I don't think so. How fucking cool would that be? You could do 3 or 4 more dope scenes with him fucking learning how to hone that. And we just didn't.
I think that's my biggest issue with this entire season in general.
They
This last
Game of
season.
Thrones the fuck out of it.
They just cheapened everybody's characters. They did all this really cool shit, but then didn't do anything with it. It is very Game of Thrones. It's just like we had all this buildup and all this setup for nothing. Lila gets eye lasers question mark and can also still mimic powers, which feels a little OP to me, but
The mimicking powers I thought was broken
and then she just did it out of nowhere. Like I thought she just had eye lasers. And then it turns out she can also still mimic things, but you don't find that out till like the last fucking episode. My other issue is we break some lore stuff. So Luther gets his powers back.
And now he can absorb bullets.
But also gets his ape body back, which was not a part of his original powers. And there's no reason for it to come back with just the marigold.
Yeah, like, it's sort of synonymous with his character. And it's like they do some like little one-off fun story bits with it. It's not even story bits, it's just jokes. But like, yeah, the ape thing was because of the serum that helped save his life. He was always super strong, whether he had the body or not. There's no reason that you would need to put Tom Hopper in the goddamn suit some more. Like, he could have just been out doing his thing. Like, it was just super disappointing to see him have to have that happen. There was some funny stuff that occurred because it happened, but it was like, that's not worth it.
Yeah, it felt like they did it because of that. Not, like, again, he wouldn't have turned back into an ape. That wasn't his original skill set.
Yeah, it wasn't his thing.
It's not like Christopher being a cube. Like, he wouldn't just go back to being an ape.
Yeah.
It's a separate incident and a separate thing in his body that caused it. Ben stays Ben, except his tentacles come out of his back instead of his front now. That's about it. That's everybody, right? Oh, Klaus can fly now.
Yep, that's new.
Klaus doesn't get his powers from taking the shot of Marigold. He dies, and they inject it into him.
He gets shot, basically dies, and they just pour what little Marigold they have left into his bullet wound, and he is pissed off about it.
He didn't want to go back.
He didn't, yeah.
Klaus has always had, I feel like, the most psychological damage from his powers because of what Hargreaves did to him originally as a child and just communing with the dead. He has a lot of issues with his powers. And so not wanting them back totally makes sense for his character. I don't like that they made him like an insane germaphobe, but it does make sense. And so he becomes really pissed off and basically downward spirals because they gave him the marigold.
Yeah.
Which leads to a lot of nonsense shenanigans that just, again, felt cheap.
I think the prior seasons would have these moments and these plot lines where the family separates, does their own things for a little bit, and then comes back together. It's really well executed in season 1 and in season 2, and season 3 to some extent it also works. In season 4, they start separated and then they start to come back together, and then they separate again for very literal nonsense reasons. And you wind up at the end of your 6-episode run needing to guide characters back towards other characters very ham-fisted in order to get everyone together for the finale, when you could have potentially, we know this happened with Game of Thrones, we don't know if this happened with Umbrella Academy, you could have potentially had 4 more episodes worth of plot that you could have written out to give the arcs more flesh, more reason for existing, more depth, and then more, not happy endings, but like more satisfactory conclusions. And we don't get any of that. Fucking Klaus goes to buy drugs after his relapse from a biker he used to buy drugs for, gets killed by the biker, and then kidnapped after he comes to, and basically held captive to fucking perform whatever odd tasks necessary as a medium for the biker gang to pay off his enormous debt to them, which is all fresh new shit. Like, And it doesn't have any impact whatsoever on the overarching plot line, so it feels like a waste of time and Robert Sheen's talents.
Uh, it was not their choice to cut off the last 4 episodes.
Really, they only got handed 6 episodes?
It was Netflix's, because the show's expensive.
Oh,
Mainly paying the cast is too expensive. So,
fuck's sakes.
by cutting the season down by 40%, they save themselves a decent chunk of change. So,
oh my god. If you want a good Umbrella Academy experience, watch seasons 1 through 3 and then just end season 3 imagining that we'll get a good season 4 in the future. We won't, but imagine it. It's nice to imagine.
or that they all just went off and lived their fucking lives. Like,
yeah, you could do that too. The deterioration, the waste of Nick Offerman and David Cross, like some really like top tier guest stars in the season, just having miserable arcs and payoffs. Like, okay, you look at Nick Offerman, right? He's done a couple things of huge note since Parks and Rec. He's done 1 episode of The Last of Us.
huh, my heart.
One of the most impactful roles on television in like recent history. And he's done this season of Umbrella Academy as an antagonist.
Did a really good job.
And he acted his ass off on a storyline that was piss poor.
Everyone acted their ass off.
It's some of the best performing to some of the worst scripts.
Yeah.
Which is a goddamn shame. It's just a fucking shame and a half.
Yeah.
Like, the cast has come out and said this was the most fun they had filming a season. And, like, I mean, it's less work to do 4 less episodes. But, like, as a viewer, I'm left at the end of season 4 extremely sad. Now, let me actually get into it a little bit. Because what basically happens in season 4 is they don't really know an apocalypse is actually coming. There's just this impending threat of something called the Cleanse, which is being idolized and potentially brought on by a cult called the Keepers, who are
a massive
sort of being it's the biggest cult on earth, and maybe as big as the Catholic Church, and there's
so many people.
It is sort of being shepherded silently by Abigail Hargreaves, and this is all so that Abigail can end the world
that was never supposed to exist.
That was never supposed to exist. Which could be a cool plot line if we had some more time to let it cook. And we have a bunch of one-off bullshit that happens. Lila and Five get lost in the subway and make a life together after 7 years.
Yeah, they fall in love.
They fall in love out of isolation, basically.
Yeah.
Because Five's powers don't work proper and they get lost in the subway of timelines.
And Five, to be fair, Five can only jump time. He cannot jump.
Yeah, he can no longer jump.
Even like his
universes.
Yeah, even his OG power, he's never been able to jump universes. He can only move forward and backward on the timeline that he's currently in.
Or from place to place.
In
a la Nightcrawler from X-Men.
Yes.
So,
but he cannot jump from one timeline to another timeline.
So they have that whole episode, which is just, I mean, if it wasn't, look, the concept of that episode, fucking heartbreaking, incredible, would have been an excellent idea for an episode if we didn't spend so much time setting up the married life that Lila and Diego have.
I feel like it was the episode itself on a standalone was really well handled. Like they end up stranded. You see them like slowly like
They slowly fall for each other.
they slowly
It's
also
like
like
it's like the screenwriters like came out of their drug fog in the writers' room, and they were like, "Oh, and this is how the episode beat should go, and it should cook exactly this way, and it should be a natural occurrence of they just slowly fall in love with each other after years and years of isolation, riding the subway tunnels and surviving." And it was like, "Oh, that was so good! It was so good! It was so good!" And then you get to the end of it, and you're like, "Wait a minute, aren't these the characters that we know and love from this other show that's kind of happening in the background?"
yeah. That's kind of what it felt like, and that's kind of what like James said, most of the season felt like are these one-off stories that would be really great if they just had more time.
It's like they started the writers' room for season 4, and they were like, "All right, let's get some cool ideas, and we'll stick them in a hat." And then they got all their cool ideas, which once again they are cool, stuck them all in the hat, and then they all did ayahuasca and picked story ideas out of a hat until they had 6 story ideas, and then they pulled one more for an overarching plot line, and they wrote the season like that, and it's disjointed, and characters uh dive they divorce themselves from prior established traits and behaviors. And it's like it's one thing to over the course of time correct a behavior that you've had. It is a whole other thing to come from one season of television to another season of television and have flipped the script on how you behave. It's fucking unreal.
Yeah, I just feel like there wasn't enough time given to anything.
It very much felt like a butchering of characters we know and love for several half-baked cool story ideas.
Because the idea of the keepers and like timelines bleeding over is really cool, and this being like their secret cult fascination, like that could have been more developed. Five and Lila could have been more developed, or Five, any other thing with Five in the subway could have been more developed. Um, the redemption arc of Reginald and Victor could have been given some more time. Like, we get this big buildup of Victor's like, no, there's things I want to say to my father. And it just gets rushed over.
Yeah.
Like, it happens in like 2 minutes.
It also is like cheapened because it's like you're saying it to, because we established that this Reginald is not the same Reginald that raised the Umbrella Academy.
It's still the Sparrow Reginald.
Yeah, it's the Sparrow Reginald, but like Victor has this whole impassioned fucking plotline that they want to go so hard on, and it's not the same guy, and they make a point of being like, but it's not the same guy, and it's completely sort of like it's wasted potential. It's energy that fizzles before it can do anything. We're just left fucking
everything
sad about it.
Every problem gets resolved in like a really quick sequence too. Like we realize that none of the siblings actually remember how Ben died. But don't worry, this Reginald has a magic machine in his basement that'll just give you those memories back. Like every problem that comes up is instantly
solved in a way that does not require any amount of difficulty at all.
Five's boss ends up being part of the Keepers, but don't worry, that's not going to be a problem or come up in any way ever again. Like, it's just things like that where it's like, James is right, we get like this really cool storyline and then it's over.
I would love to see them start the season from scratch with the concept, like keep the concept of the Jennifer incident, the Durango and the Marigold, and Abigail causing an apocalypse because this world shouldn't exist. And then let's run with that. Oh, and by the way, at the end of the season, in order to solve the apocalypse, Five leaves a fight to go into the subway, and he's wandering about again, and he stumbles upon another Five. Now, normally when this happens, the paradoxical psychosis shit occurs, and it's problematic. Well, it doesn't happen this time, and he follows that 5 into a delicatessen that's in the subway that is staffed and attended by a host of 5s, all of whom have given up trying to solve the apocalypse, and they just sort of hang out there now. Because if you're in between timelines, you can't be a paradox. That's my excuse for it. And he learns in this delicatessen that the only way to stop the apocalypse is if he and all his siblings
cease to exist.
Die/cease to exist. Because then the marigold goes away, all the marigold that's left goes away, and the universe can continue on with one single timeline post cleanse. So the answer is he goes back to his siblings and basically tells them, hey, guess what? We all need to basically surrender to apocalypse and we will cease to exist. And that is just how we save the world.
But everyone that we know and love will continue to exist and be fine.
Only because we take them to the fucking timeline. But they won't. Here's the thing, right? We take a bunch of time to get the girl, the
Lila's
kids,
family.
Lila and Diego's family, and Claire into the subway, and then they put them on a train. When you go on the train, you get to another stop somewhere. And if you get off the train and wander up out of the subway station, you appear in a universe somewhere. Some other universe, right? Some other timeline. They fuck themselves with this story because they send them on the train, right? They have no guarantee that when they sacrifice themselves in their timeline, that their family will get to the prime timeline, the only timeline that exists post cleanse. But we see them in that timeline post cleanse at the end of the show,
along with a bunch of other people that died that wouldn't exist in the same time.
They died because of the Umbrella Academy, but they wouldn't have existed without the Umbrella Academy. So you get basically what is a handful of cameos to be like crowd service, but it doesn't pay off in any meaningful way because you're left sitting there going, but they shouldn't exist at the end anyways, and none of them should exist because if the marigold all goes away, then the mothers can't be and
they created a worse paradox than the one they were trying to write away.
Yeah, it's a nonstop tripping over your own shoelaces scenario, but you're the one who tied your shoelaces together. Like, you're left sitting there going, the writers on the show literally, like, went insane. And it's the exact same thing that happened with Game of Thrones, because the Game of Thrones writers and showrunners guessed how George R.R. Martin wanted that series to end.
It's how they got permission to make the series at all.
And so they basically made up the last like 2 seasons?
The last season.
They made up the whole last season, and it's the season everyone panned unanimously as being terrible. And it's sort of the same thing here. We don't have a comic for season 4. They didn't write one. And while Gerard Way and Gabriel Ba were producers on the show and they were present on set, and I'm sure they had a hand in guiding the plot and writing of the show, it very much feels like if they had written the comic first, we might have had a proper good season of television. If Netflix had pulled their head out of their ass and committed the budget to a fan favorite show, it might have gone over better. But we come out the gate and season 4 is just hand over fist an endless disappointment train. Like they get your hopes up every episode with some new cool thing, and then they yada yada it by the end, and you're left going, well, what's the next fucking thing gonna be? Is there going to be anything worth caring about? It's kind of like Riverdale, where you can't reliably trust that anything has weight or gravity or meaning at all because things don't matter at all in season 4. It's a throwaway season. It's just a fucking waste of viewing time. Don't watch it. Just don't watch it. There's cool fights. Watch the clips on YouTube. Don't watch the show.
Yeah.
Watch seasons 1 through 3 happily.
It sucks because, like I said, this was like I loved it enough that I got a tattoo of it. It was one of my favorite shows of all time, and it just got fucked. But that's the Umbrella Academy. In a very abridged nutshell. Loved the show up until season 4. Love the comics. Love the whole universe. Really, I think it's a really cool idea. But yeah. We will be back next time with should be Black Swan.
At some point.
At some point, and again, I do apologize for recordings and episodes being uploaded not as consistently as previously, but like we said in the previous episode, we did just have a baby. So we've been doing newborn parent stuff, which we must go return to right now. So we will see y'all or talk to y'all when we can.
Bye-bye.
Sorry, I cut you off too soon.
It's okay, because you know what I can do? Fix it.
All right.
Yeah, the final episode is so bad.
Yeah, it's just I love the show. I think I've rewatched it more than once, which tells me that I like it because I don't rewatch things. But it's just there's been some really great endings to shows. And then there's been some How I Met Your Mother endings to shows, and this falls more in the latter, which sucks. Because it did. It started off as such a cool series and such a cool premise, and you really love the dysfunctional family, and it's just... I hate when things get ruined for stupid reasons. Especially when, like I said, you have such good shows that have been written and ended so well. Like The Good Place did excellent with only 4 seasons and shorter episodes and told a more cohesive storyline, and they have multiple timelines in theirs. There's things that you can do well, and there's things that you cannot, and this was just one of those ones that did not get handled well. Which sucks. It does feel like Gerard Way had a bunch of these storylines and they tried to sew them all together in less than 10 episodes. But yeah, thanks for hanging out, guys. We'll see you next time we see you. We love you all. And we miss you. We do miss you guys. We miss streaming and podcasting and stuff like that. As baby's sleep schedules get more consistent, we'll hopefully be here more. But we're going to do what we can in the meantime. Bye.